Hello everyone, we are the students of Informatics College Pokhara. I am Mahima Preeti Serjan and with me are my group members
Om Thapa.
Amit Gung.
Today we are going to talk about comparative strategies of two airline companies, Emirates and SkyWest. This video contains 6 chapters: Introduction, Internal Analysis, External Analysis, Financial and Ratio Analysis, SWOT Analysis, followed by Conclusion. Emirates. Established in October 1985, Emirates Airline is the national carrier of the Emirate of Dubai, United Arab Emirates. Emirates is the world's largest airline and is among the fastest growing carriers worldwide and is the largest operator of the Airbus A380 aircraft type. Emirates, operating from its hub at Dubai International Airport, provides an extensive network of services within the Middle East as well as to Africa, Asia, the South Pacific, North America, Europe, and South America. Emirates Sky Cargo is the air freight division of Emirates, serving over 50 destinations. Mission and vision of Emirates. Vision of Emirates is to maintain international recognition as one of the leading aviation and security service businesses in the world and set a benchmark within the industry. Mission of Emirates is to commit to safeguarding all customers, staffs, and assets against acts of unlawful interference through continuous reviews, training, and education. Similarly, their mission is to implement international industry standards and practices, ensuring a safe and secure environment while facilitating business growth. SkyWest. Established on April 26, 1972, SkyWest is the parent corporation for two designated air carriers as well as an aviation leasing with approximately 3,000 regular flights and carries more than 53 million passengers yearly. SkyWest Airlines offers corporate airline services in locations across North America. United Airlines, Delta Airlines, American Airlines, and Alaska Airlines are partners of SkyWest Airlines. SkyWest, headquartered in St. George, Utah, has been maintaining quality in the regional sector by providing unrivaled value to its clients, stockholders, and almost 17,000 workers. Mission and vision of SkyWest. Vision of SkyWest is to strive to be the partner of choice, employer of choice, and investment of choice. Mission of SkyWest is to understand and value the priceless commodity of time, respecting every individual's quality of life, promoting dignity and trust.
Value chain analysis of SkyWest and Emirates. Inbound logistics. SkyWest depends on powerful suppliers in the service sector use their negotiating power to extract the high prices from the firm in the regional airline field, whereas Emirates focus on the management of the yields and strives to reduce the dependency on the suppliers. Operational activities. SkyWest may be able to generate a sustainable growth, increase revenues, and establish a strong competitiveness. The consequences of rising production, whereas Emirates focus on self-operation in the number of areas in order to improve its knowledge of customer needs. Marketing and sales. Emirates advertise in all the cities they serve, which includes large advertisement billboards, mass media advertisement, and other techniques, whereas SkyWest Airline strives to be a respected partner in the communities they serve. HR management. Emirates has its own aviation college that supplies continuous manpower to them, whereas SkyWest achieves its cost minimization objectives by analyzing hiring and training costs with their relative return. Service. Emirates Airline creates value of its service through service packages that consist of Emirates Hotel, Resorts, Emirates Lounge, Skyward, 24-hour prior check-in service, whereas SkyWest provides aircraft leasing service. Home infrastructure. Emirates is owned by government sponsorship, so the company enjoys the free tax, whereas SkyWest control its infrastructure activities its own to strengthen the competitive positioning in the market. Procurement. The procurement system at Emirates consists catering service, fuel handling, as well as stock control, food and drinks offered to the customer at airport as well as during the flights. Whereas SkyWest involved in purchasing the input that may range from equipment, machinery, raw material, supplies, and other necessary items for producing the finished product. Outbound logistics. SkyWest finds its new resources of the competitive advantage and meet its company expansion goal, whereas Emirates Cargo and Emirates Executive are the company's outbound services that contribute to the value creation in its services. Technology. SkyWest has automation software, technology supported customer service, product design research, and data analytics, whereas Emirates has an in-house research center, an engineering center, and computer reservation system that promotes and enhances technological research and development to support its primary services.
Talking about postal analysis, it is a strategic framework used to evaluate the external environment of a business by breaking down the opportunities and risks into political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal factors. Political factor. The political factor of Emirates Airline is that it begins its journey at a period when the UAE was rapidly growing. For example, it spent $2 billion in the airline in 2020 to support it in overcoming financial issues created by the global economic lockdown. Likewise, talking about SkyWest political factor, it operates regional airlines in over a dozen countries, exposing itself to a variety of political environments and political system risks. Before entering or investigating in a particular market, SkyWest would carefully consider the government bureaucracy and interference in the regional airlines industry. Economical factor. Talking about the economical factor of Emirates, Dubai is one of the world's most popular tourist attraction and it is very favorable business location for Emirates. For the fiscal year 2019 and 2020, it generated a revenue of $25.1 billion and a profit of $288 million. Likewise, the economical factor of SkyWest is that the aggregate demand and aggregate investment in an economy are determined by macroeconomical factors such as the inflation rate, saving rate, interest rate, foreign exchange rate, and economic cycle. Social factor. The social factor of Emirates Airline is that despite the fact that the average population growth rate in the UAE was 1.31% from 2015 to 2020, down from 1.6% from 2010 to 2015, the population is expanding, which is beneficial to Emirates Airlines, particularly in its local market. Whereas the social factor of SkyWest is that the population's shared beliefs and attitudes play a significant role in how SkyWest marketers understand the customers of a given market and design the marketing message for regional airlines industry consumers. Technological factors. As we all know that technological innovations and changes are occurring at a rapid pace and have an impact on the aviation industry. So for Emirates, in September 2019, it announced that biometric boarding could be available in flights to the United States in order to reduce boarding time. Likewise, the technological factor of SkyWest is that the transportation industry is a good example of this. So, the SkyWest leadership should consider the impact on the cost structure of the regional airline industry and the effect on the value chain structure in the service sector. Legal factor. Talking about the legal factor of Emirates, laws filed by passengers, governments, and non-governmental organizations such as NGOs could be costly for Emirates. For example, the Australian Competitions and Consumers Commission sued the airline in 2019 over allegations of price fixing in the air cargo industry between 2002 and 2006. Likewise, the legal factor of SkyWest is in a number of countries, the legal framework and institutions are insufficient to protect an organization's intellectual property rights. SkyWest leadership should consider copyright and intellectual property law, and likewise e-commerce and consumer protection when entering a new market. Environmental factor. Talking about the environmental factor of Emirates, air pollution is a major global issue, and it should be noted in this regard that Emirates Airline has been using advanced technologies in order to reduce the environmental impact of its operations, and it has long argued governments to make air navigations more fuel efficient and emission free. Likewise, talking about the environmental factor of SkyWest, as we all know that different marketers have different norms or environmental standards which can have an impact on an organization's profitability in those markets. So some of the environmental factors that a company should think about ahead of time are weather, change in the climate, laws governing pollutions in the environment. Porter's Five Forces. The Porter's Five Forces model is a comprehensive strategy paradigm that decouples strategic decision making from a simple analysis of the current competition. Threat of new entrants. Emirates. The airline industry has high entry barriers owing to the high startup cost involved. The existing airlines in the internal aviation industry make gaining significant market share in the early years difficult. Emirates Airline faces a low risk of new entrants. Talking about SkyWest, emerging regional airlines entrance innovations and radical innovations and create stress on SkyWest by lowering prices, cutting expenses, and offering value propositions to customers. To maintain its competitive advantage, SkyWest must handle all of this issue and irrelevant aspects. Now talking about bargaining power of supplier of Emirates, the numbers of suppliers of planes and the demands of airlines for these carriers determine the bargaining power of suppliers in the airline industry. Due to the low number of suppliers in the aviation industry, suppliers have ample opportunity to demonstrate limited flexibility in the price structure while maintaining high bargaining power. Talking about SkyWest, almost every company in the geographic airlines business obtains its raw materials from a variety of sources. Higher supplier negotiating power has the overall effect of reducing regional airlines' total profitability. Talking about the bargaining power of buyers of Emirates, the absence of bargaining power, airline companies such as Emirates can raise their prices due to external influences, and consumers continue to use the service despite the price increase. Customers are willing to pay a higher price for Emirates than for other low-cost airlines because the company has established a reputation for providing high-quality service. Likewise, talking about SkyWest, consumers may be a picky bunch. They aim to get the greatest possible deal by spending the least amount of money feasible. In the long term, this puts a strain on SkyWest Incorporation revenue. Now, talking about the threat of substitute product or service, talking about Emirates. In the airline industry, Emirates faces a moderate level of threat from substitute products. Other carriers, in addition to Emirates, provide transportation service to the public, which can be viewed as a substitute for consumers. Likewise, talking about SkyWest, the profitability of the industry decreases whenever a fresh product and services satisfies comparable client wants in various ways. So, software like Dropbox or Google Drive, for example, can be used to replace physical hardware devices.
Moving on to the financial analysis. Financial performance analysis includes analysis and interpretation of financial statement in such a way that it undertakes a full diagnosis of the profitability and financial soundness of the business. Having said that, looking at the revenue trend of two giant companies from 2018 to 2020, according to the data, both companies experienced a significant decrease in their revenue throughout those years. The revenue of SkyWest accounted to be 3,222, 2,972, and 2,128 million respectively, whereas Emirates had an earning of US dollar 29.8, 25.1, and 9.7 billion respectively. Different ratios have been used to measure and compare the financial performance of the companies over the last 3 years. To begin with, profitability ratios. Profitability ratios are the reflection of how efficiently a company generates profit and value. Under this ratio, we have an operating profit ratio, which is a profitability ratio that shows how much profit a company makes from its primary operation. According to the data, Emirates' operating profit seems to be increasing coming to the year 2020. The operational profit is stated to be 4.4%, 2.76%, and 7.04% respectively. SkyWest, on the other hand, had a reduction in operating profit over the course of 3 years. In those years, the operational profit was 14.7, 17.19, and 5.12 respectively. Having said that, an increasing operational margin over time indicates that a company's profitability is improving. As a result, Emirates have achieved better operating profit in recent years. Now moving on to another crucial ratio, efficiency ratio. Efficiency ratios are metrics that are used to assess a company's capacity to utilize its resources, such as capital and asset, to generate profit. Under the efficiency ratio, we have asset turnover ratio. According to the data, SkyWest appears to have a declining tendency in its asset turnover ratio between 2018 and 2020. The accounted asset turnover ratios were 0.54, 0.45, and 0.31 respectively. On the other hand, the Emirates asset turnover ratio fluctuated over that time. The accounted ratios were 0.72, 0.75, and 0.53 respectively. The higher the asset turnover ratio, the more efficient a corporation is at earning income from its asset. So when comparing the two firms, Emirates has a greater asset turnover ratio. Moving on to the next essential ratio, liquidity ratios. Liquidity ratios are a type of financial indicators that is used to evaluate a debtor's capacity to repay existing debt obligation without borrowing external capital. The most basic metrics of liquidity is the current ratio, which compares the business current asset to its current liabilities. Referring to the data, the current ratio of Emirates and SkyWest appears to be declining between 2018 and 2020. The greater the current ratio, the more capable a corporation is at meeting its commitment. As a result, SkyWest has a greater current ratio with a value of 1.04, whereas Emirates had a current ratio of 0.57 in recent year. Similarly, moving on to risk ratio, it is the ratio that is used to assess how healthy and sound the business is in terms of capital or finances. Under this ratio, we have the debt to equity ratio. According to the data, Emirates appears to have a high debt to equity ratio, which is frequently associated with high risks. It indicates that a firm has been actively funding its expansion with debt. Between 2018 and 2020, the debt to equity ratio of Emirates is recorded to be 82.8, 95.4, and 381.2 in the respective year. SkyWest, on the other hand, has debt to equity ratio of 2.21, 2.06, and 2.22% respectively. As a result, SkyWest has better debt to equity ratio. Lastly, we have investors ratio. Investors ratio are the financial ratios that the investors use in order to evaluate the company's ability to generate the return. Under this ratio, we have earning per share. According to the data, the EPS of Emirates and SkyWest have fallen in those years. A higher EPS indicate greater value because investor will pay more for a company share if they think the company have higher profit in relation to its share price. So Emirates have a greater EPS compared to SkyWest in recent years with the EPS of 3.5 pence.
SWOT analysis. Strength. Emirates' strength is that it flies to over 161 destinations in more than 85 countries covering 6 continents and strictly maintains a strategic location where its hub is Dubai, a leading tourist destination. SkyWest's strength is it operates regional jet flights for American Airlines Group, Delta Airlines, United Airlines, and Alaska Air Group. Weakness. There are some allegations that the Emirates airline does not pay due taxes and has higher prices compared to other airline companies. Emirates does not cater to middle class and budget travelers. On the other hand, SkyWest is not a member of any airline unions, hence has been losing out benefits of code-share agreements. SkyWest depends and provides services on behalf of legacy carriers like US Airways, Delta Airlines, which is its core weaknesses. Opportunities. As the demand for convenient and affordable traveling is on the rise, the idea of introducing a subsidiary budget airline could be an opportunity worth exploring to Emirates. SkyWest can leverage on associations with Virgin Airlines to further strengthen its brand image and can focus on operating more destinations tapping the global customers and should actively seek to build exposure of the tourist destinations. Both of the airlines can still pursue further international expansion strategies. Threats. Any decline in tourism to Dubai can be a threat to Emirates as Dubai is its hub. Likewise, the emergence and performance of airlines such as Etihad, Qatar Airways are noteworthy, posing threat to Emirates. Disruption in collaboration and partnership with United Airlines, Delta Airlines, American Airlines, and Alaska Airlines can lead to SkyWest's failure. Increasing labor costs and threat of worker unions, increase in aviation fuel costs, diplomatic, political, or economic turmoil may slow down the businesses of both Emirates and SkyWest's airlines. Conclusion. To summarize, both Emirates and SkyWest have a long-haul history in the aviation industry that spans more than 25 years. They both have been successfully running their business as a leading company centered in Middle East and North America, respectively. However, with the increased competition in the business, the aviation industry has been a frequent target of government, and over the course of 3 years, the COVID-19 pandemic has triggered loan guarantees and equity infusions. Thus, they should grapple with new reality and devise new strategies to get back on track. Thank you.